Hello and welcome. You're watching World Talks with me, Anna Kalczyńska. The fear is gone. In Serbia, the perception of alleged corruption is one thing that unifies all people in silent protests. Thousands of demonstrators continuously take to the streets to express their discontent, both in big cities and in the rural parts of the country. While previous scandals have failed to stick to President Alexandar Vučić, this one has. Joining us now is Rigels Halili, lecturer, Center for East European Studies, University of Warsaw. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And thank you for joining. President Alexandar Vučić is most likely aware of the seriousness of the situation, given the support to the protesters, not only in the cities, but also in the more rural areas. So does Vučić has anything to fear, or will the protests just fade out as they did previously?
We don't know that. I'm not in the head of President Vučić, so to speak. However, what is the most important here, the most important element in this whole puzzle is the fact that the students are not giving up, and other Serbian citizens are joining them. Not only young, but also elderly people, rural areas, workers, lawyers who just yesterday, the Association of Lawyers made an announcement that for a month is not going to serve to any legal proceedings in the country. So no lawyers are going to be present in courts, in all legal activities, which means that the whole legal activity in the country will be simply paralyzed. So it's a sort of a rolling stone, so to speak, which is getting bigger and bigger for President Vučić. He already sacrificed the prime minister who resigned in the last week, and who is also the head of the ruling party. So it means that there is that the bigger sacrifice probably will take place. However, we don't know what is going to happen. What gives a hope for change is the fact that at the forefront of the protests are not, so to speak, the elderly or the people who would protest before the 13 years rule of Alexandar Vučić and his party, but there are youngsters in their 20s. Young students who were completely born and lived in a completely different reality than in the 90s or in 2000s. They are basically half of their life they spent under the rule of President Vučić and the President Nikolić and Vučić and the ruling Serbian Progressive Party. So in a way, these are the product. These people who are protesting and blocking the roads and bridges in Serbia are the product of the era of Vučić. And that is something that is very striking in many, many ways and interesting to watch and to discuss about.
That's right. But what you are describing as a factor of hope, meaning that those protests are not politicized, right, may actually prove to be its biggest weakness, since those protesters have not had any political backing and so do not provide any alternative. Or am I wrong? Is there some part of political involvement in it?
Well, the president and the president or the government-controlled media or pro-government media are stressing often and often that this is an attack on Serbia. This is how it is presented, but that is completely not true, and everybody knows that. This is a civil disobedience, an act of civil disobedience, in my opinion. These are not politicians who are protesting, but these are future politicians who are protesting. From this group of people, probably a new political elite will emerge in the future that will give Serbia most likely a new political turn. And everybody knows that, both in Serbia and outside Serbia, those who observe the political situation in Serbia. It is true, students have not demanded the resignation of President Vučić by in any circumstances. They are just demanding, so to speak, social, economic, but also sometimes, in a way, a political demand is to free all of the students that were arrested during the protests, the 2 months protests. So it is a political request by the students and by those who are protesting. But it has not gone yet to the political level of changing the ruling government or the political elite. It is Vučić who has stated very often, immediately after the accident in Novi Sad, that he will resign or he will give his legitimacy to a referendum. He'll put up a referendum and people will decide whether they want him to rule or not. Now, the funny part is that according to the Serbian constitution, the president has nothing to say about these issues, because what happened in Novi Sad was actually clearly a government matter. But the idea that the president, who is the head of state but not the head of the government, is ruling and is controlling or managing the crisis, means that he's going to be attacked both by his political opponents, but also eventually also by the protesters. There was a moment when protesting students were beaten up by what it appeared to be afterwards supporters of the ruling party. So the protests do have already a political aspect, but it is not yet visible in a way that we could say it will endanger the position of the President Vučić.
Serbia's president has long adopted a strategic ambiguity, so to speak. For instance, Serbia has been selling weapons to Ukraine, but did not join the alliance of anti-Russian measures adopted by, for instance, EU. So Vučić is a canny operator. Do you think that he can somehow win the situation domestically over and perhaps somehow succumb to the demands of the youth on the streets?
We'll see what happened. Definitely the war in Ukraine and the political stance that Serbia and President Vučić have taken against the Russian aggression on Ukraine, it's an ambiguous, as you're completely right. Nobody has seen yet this aspect as connected, but I see it through my, so to speak, through my work, because I deal with university teachers. They are my friends and students. The costs of living in Belgrade have gone up very rapidly as a consequence of the war. About 300,000 Russian people are living in Belgrade at the moment. They have opened companies, but the costs of the rent have gone very, very up. So for a student coming to study in Belgrade, to rent a house, to rent a room, let alone a house or a flat, it is already very, very difficult and very painful, and it's impossible, actually. That's why most at the forefront of the process are students who have been severely affected by the consequences of this, so to speak, new Russian immigration to this wave of immigration of Russians to Serbia. Therefore, these things are connected with each other. I don't know whether President Vučić will be able to overcome this crisis. Most likely he will, because he still controls the state and the party controls actually every single parcel of the state. However, of the state administration. However, the visible cracks are there. So we can see visible cracks. So the police has behaved in a different way this time against the students. So it might be, there are two scenarios. One is that the President Vučić and government will succumb and offer the 20% rise in higher education funding, and that will satisfy the needs of the students. Or the political avalanche will follow up with the coming of spring, which makes basically easier to protest and to stay out on the streets and to chant and then to throw actually political demands. So we'll see what happens.
So it's already the fourth month of demonstrations in Serbia. Thank you so much, Rigels Halili, lecturer, Center for East European Studies, Warsaw University, was our guest this morning. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much, and have a lovely day. Thank you so much for watching. This was World Talks, but please stay tuned to TVP World for more interviews and news.